stand, we'll sing, since we got so much rain this evening, we'll sing Showers of Blessings while we're waiting on other folks to come in. As we stand, page 335. There shall be showers of blessing. This is the promise of love. There shall be seasons refreshing, sent from the Savior above. Showers of blessing we need. Mercy drops round us are falling, but for the showers we plead. There shall be showers of blessing, precious reviving again. Over the hills and the valleys, sound of abundance of rain. Showers of blessing we need. Mercy drops round us are falling, but for the showers we plead. There shall be showers of blessing, send them upon us, O Lord. Grant to us now a refreshing, come and now honor thy word. Showers of blessing we need. Mercy drops round us are falling, but for the showers we plead. There shall be showers of blessing, oh, that today they might fall. Now as to God we're confessing, now as on Jesus we call. Showers of blessing we need. Mercy drops round us are falling, but for the showers we plead. Amen. I'm going to give one prayer request, and I'm going to ask Brother Gary to pray for us tonight, open up the service. But Miss Linda has double pneumonia, and y'all know she just went through all of those heart issues and got her home. And so I spoke to her on the phone earlier today, and she sounded pretty rough. But she's waiting on her doctor to prescribe her antibiotics. But let's lift Miss Linda up in prayer tonight and pray that the Lord bless her. And Brother Gary, will you lead us in prayer for the service, please?
Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to come to your house, Lord, and praise you, Lord, in song and praises, Lord. We thank you for all the things that comes to us for free from you. We pray a special prayer for Miss Linda and Hutch, Lord. She's in desperate need of you right now. Yes, Lord Jesus. Thank you so much. We pray to God that you bless her, lift her up, give her strength, and fill her body, Lord. We love you. We know that you're here to listen to us. You're here in spirit. We're just so glad that we're here this time with you, Lord. Bless the rest of the service and protect us through the rain. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Miss Tess, we're going to do that page 336 in just a moment. But I'm going to remind you real quick, church, we have Saturday night fireworks show. And we went to the fireworks guy and got the exact same fireworks that we got last year. And last year he charged us a certain amount, and this year he charged us a different amount, which was a lesser amount. So I was happy with that. And so, and I heard tell that we're getting a whole lot more fireworks coming our way. So the show is probably going to be over 30 minutes this Saturday night. You want to be a part, you want to see that. We do. I think our guys do a great job blowing that stuff up, setting trailers on fire and the field on fire. So it's all good and it's all fun. But we have hot dogs, we have hamburgers. We're going to have like a 20-minute service that night. Leading up to it, a fellowship, and then enjoy the time together as a church family. No Sunday school on Sunday morning, just regular church at 11 o'clock, and then no evening service. This Saturday will be our evening service, all right? So everybody be a part of that. That'll be a blessing and encouragement. We're going to sing 336, They That Wait Upon the Lord. We'll sing through it one time, and we'll have a time of fellowship. Let the teens go out, and Brother Stephen is going to be teaching tonight on leadership. And what's the title of yours tonight? It's right behind me, isn't it? Yes, awesome, awesome. And I think we all need that, so it'll be a blessing to us. They That Wait Upon the Lord, page 336. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Teach me, Lord, to wait. All right, have a time of fellowship while she plays through that. Shake each other's hands. I know you're glad to see them here tonight. On the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Teach me, Lord, to wait. Amen. As you get back around to your seat, thank you, Miss Tess, for playing tonight. Those of you that are choir, we're just going to go over one song right after the service. Those of you that are helping in Vacation Bible School have to go to the VBS meeting, which will be in the fellowship hall after that. Brother Stephen Minkin, come up and give us what the Lord's laid on your heart and what we've discussed. And I want to say this. I wasn't here last week, but I watched it online, and I enjoyed that. Y'all may be seated. Everybody may be seated. Y'all may be seated. Yes, ma'am. Okay, we can talk about that in the prayer time, and we'll make sure that we get that done. Okay, thank you so much. Everybody may be seated. All right, so let me get my train of thought back for just a moment, okay? Brother Stephen and I have met multiple times over the last year and a half, and I really have appreciated his mentorship in leadership. And I want to grow as a leader. I want to grow as a pastor. And I think everybody gets better if the leader gets better. And everybody grows. But you're a leader. If you're a Christian, you're a leader. And so learning leadership principles, learning how to grow in life, there's never a point in life where you ought to stop growing. There's never a point in life where you ought to start growing. And that's why we're doing these things. And prayerfully, we'll have some leaders that emerge out of this that can take a step with us going forward. And I see it in some of you. I saw it Sunday night in the fellowship. I saw people stepping up and doing stuff, and it was just really amazing, and I enjoyed the time. But give Stephen a Riverview welcome as he comes up and teaches us tonight. And God bless you. Thank you.
All right. Well, hey, good evening. Thanks, Pastor. And I don't take lightly the opportunity to be up here. It is a serious responsibility. The pastor was talking about is the organization. If you want the organization to grow, the leadership has to grow as well. And there's actually in John Maxwell's 21 Laws of Leadership, which is the best leadership book around, there's something called the law of the lid. And what he says is on a scale of 1 to 10, you rate yourself as a leader, 10 being the highest, 1 being the worst, or the least skilled, if you will. And if a leader is a 7 in an organization, the organization is going to hit 7, and that's as far as they're going to go. They're never going to go above the leadership lid of the leader that's in that organization. And the fact that you've got a pastor willing to grow and continue to invest, because leadership is a lifelong journey, speaks volumes of his character and his willingness and his commitment to the church, because he does not take lightly what the Lord's laid upon his heart. So what I want to do tonight is share some leadership concepts with you. How many of you have set New Year's resolutions at some point in your life? Okay. How many of you kept them for more than 7.5 weeks or so? Maybe-ish. Okay, maybe, yeah. So, all you have to do is go to Planet Fitness in January and you can't find a machine. And if you wait long enough till about mid-February, you can get on any machine that you want, because people realize, wow, this exercise thing is actually hard and I did want to get in shape, and then they just agree that pear is a shape. So they're okay with it. So, the challenge is when we set New Year's resolutions and we set these things in our life as short-term goals, if we don't link them back to what matters to us, then they're never going to get accomplished. So tonight I want to walk you through something that some of you may have already learned. For some of you this may be brand new, but what you see up here is a slide deck that I've used both on active duty, both as a consultant mentor, and also currently over at UAB in the medical school, because we train nurses and docs and head nurses as well in leadership, because they want them to be equipped to lead before they get thrown into that position. That's not the time to figure it out once you get promoted. So we're going to go through some things. You're going to have homework. I'll just give you a heads up right now, because we're not going to be able to get through all of this in just a 40-some-odd minute session. So, all right. So one of the things that happens in life is we don't really we don't know what's important, because everything's important. Everything's got our attention. Social media, things on your phone. They did this study, Pavlov did this study, you've probably heard of it, that every time you'd ring a bell, the dog would respond. And then they did a follow-on study that every time the Outlook thing would chime, we would respond, right? So it's the same thing. And that was a joke, work with me. But it's true, we respond, the moment your phone goes off, right? I mean, how often, it takes discipline to put your phone away at the dinner table. It takes discipline to put your phone away when you're spending time at date night with your spouse. And because we let everything be important. And if we let everything be important, then nothing really is truly the priority. So often what people do is, they see us do everything, and then they expect us to do everything as well. So we've got to prioritize in our lives. And I'm going to skip through some of these because we want to be quick to get to the important part in the homework tonight. But really what we're talking about is time management skills. But time management is more than just having a calendar. It's more than having a day planner. And it's more than just having, notepads that you write down where you're supposed to go and when you're supposed to do things. It really is about making sure that you spend your time on the things that are important to you, and deliberately spending time on those things, and then being able to refocus. My buddy in the Pentagon used to always joke, his name was Ted, and I said, Ted, what are you doing today? He's like, oh, I'm chasing stray voltage. And what it basically meant is he was running around doing 900 different random things because someone had asked him to do it, and he was doing absolutely nothing of importance. But it was what was pressing at the moment. And if we don't have good discipline about understanding what's important in our life, then when we start chasing stray voltage, we never get back to what really matters. You just stay derailed for the rest of the day. You end up, if you were in the old days and you were on Windows 3.1, you'd end up playing Minesweeper for the afternoon. You'd be goofing or playing solitaire. That was before cell phones existed. Because there was no dial-up, so there was nothing to do online. It hadn't been invented by Al Gore yet. So, what happens is we don't know how to refocus, and that's what time management is about. And we're going to talk about deciding or defining where things matter to you so that you can focus on those things in your life. And again, we're going to do this in a building block approach like we often do in our classes. And we're going to start with our values. John Mark, I've got a copy for you here. And we'll go through this. We're going to start with values. Those are the things that matter to us. And we're going to look at values both personal and professional. When we do these assignments tonight and as you do them as homework, it's in multiple areas. It's not just your church life. It's not just your personal life. It's also your work life. Because all of those have to be in balance. How many of you have ever been in a job, don't raise your hand, Pastor, where the job is all-consuming and everything else is out of balance, right? And what happens? You burn out. Why do pastors burn out? Because they don't have any balance between family, self, their personal relationship with the Lord, and their job. And it's the same thing in any career. It can become all-consuming. The military is notorious for that. It becomes an all-consuming 24 hours a day lifestyle. I had to learn as a new squadron commander to put the BlackBerry away, that they still had them back then, because you would be constantly checking email. And you had to get in the habit of, one, not communicating with your direct reports at 11 o'clock at night, because then they'd be doing work at 11:30 at night responding back to you. So we want to know what values we hold in life. And again, we're doing this from a holistic view, everything in our life. We're going to look at the roles we play, because you have multiple hats that you wear. And then we're going to talk about a personal vision statement, a personal mission statement, and then we're going to put pen to paper and actually do some goals to help guide you to where you need to go. As you do the goal exercise, you're going to do it individually, but I would encourage you to take what you do and learn tonight and take a date night with your spouse or significant other and do it with your spouse as well, and have marriage goals also. Because if you don't, you just float through life and you're like, oh, the kids just graduated high school, what happened? And you have to be deliberate. In fact, Miriam shared with me, she's down in Florida tonight, otherwise she'd be here, but she was listening to this marriage podcast, and it talked about the 777 approach to marriage. And I wanted to share it with you because I think it's pretty cool, and it's something we're going to start doing. Every 7 days, you go out on a date. It could just be dinner, it could be lunch, just something. Every 7 days, you do something together, just the two of you. Every 7 weeks, you take a weekend off, just the two of you. Just an overnight somewhere. It doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't have to be Disney World, but just somewhere. You could go to the little tiny homes on the Ladiga Trail and camp out there if you want, right? But just a day away from the kids, an overnight stay for you and your spouse. And then every 7 months, you do a vacation together. So again, it's just an approach to say, hey, this is how we want to invest in ourselves. So we want to put those down as goals. So what you do tonight, I encourage you to repeat and replicate with your spouse as well. All right, so when we talk about values, those are the things that really matter to us. They're endearing to us. It's what we're passionate about. Everyone has a different set of personal values, but those really are the guideposts that guide you and guide the decisions that you make. It helps define what you do, and often your talents and where you're gifted by the Lord show up in your values. Okay, so we're going to talk about that and pick out what we value. So what I want you to do, at UAB, what we would do is we'd give you a deck of cards and you'd sort through, and it takes forever. And we don't really need to do it that complicated. So what I want to do is on the next slide, you're going to see, I think it's about 15 or 20 different words. And I want you to, that's actually more than that. I'm not going to do math in public. There's a lot. What I want you to do is choose the top 5 that are most relevant to you and jot them down. You've got 2 handouts with you, and cheap labor, me, I stapled them in the wrong order. So I want you to, on the personal, it's the second page, the personal vision and mission statement planner. You've got under core values, and it says list 5 to 8. We're just going to do 5 because we don't want to inundate you with too much tonight. But I want you to write down the 5 statements on the next chart that resonate with you the most. There is no wrong answer. We're not grading this, and I'm not going to ask you to share. Your spouse may ask you to share, but you don't have to share with the audience. So be honest. This is about you. Where are you drawn to based off of the way the Lord created you with your gifts and talents? And pick the top 5 and write them down on that sheet. Oh, here, Tank. I've got a nice one for you. If you need to just take a picture of the screen, you can do that. And this way you can keep up, because once I flip the slides, you're not going to be able to see it. Okay, so hopefully you had a chance to pick out. You ready, Wendy? You got it? I'll wait for Wendy to get a picture. Hold on. No worries. Okay. All right, so hopefully you had a chance. You wrote down the 5 values. Those are obviously the things that resonate with you. And now what I want you to do is on your sheet, the next section says roles in my life. And roles are the things that we do in life on a daily basis. Again, we're looking beyond just work. So it's not just your profession or your boss or your subordinates. It could be you're a spouse, you're a child, you have relationships that you work in the community, your walk with Christ. We have multiple roles and relationships in our life. So what I want you to do is write out the five roles that come to your mind that you serve in most cases. And the reason we do this is because if we write goals and objectives that don't link to these roles, then you're never going to do anything about it because you're not actually operating in that role. So that's why we define these roles that we fill in our life. So no more than 5, because once we get past that, it gets a little difficult to manage. Okay, that one's easier than the values. But the reason we start with that is obviously, like I said, values are the compass that guide us in our life. And we need to take time to reflect on that. And then the roles are the things that we're doing every day. So when we're in those roles, we obviously want to continue growing and advancing our development or our relationships as we fill those roles. So that's why we start with this very basic exercise. But it's critical because a lot of folks actually never take time to think through this stuff and to figure out what they value and what the roles are. Now, here's one thing I will tell you. This is not a one-and-done exercise. So you don't get to pull this off on the 1st of July, 2026, and you're done with it forever. You get to do this again in about 11 months. In fact, what I tell most of my students that I coach on this is I said, this is an exercise you probably are going to do in October of every year as you start to think about what you're going to do in the next calendar year. So we do it in October because it's going to take you several weeks to put it together. And that's what's going to actually set your goals for the next calendar year, not, gee, I'll just join Planet Fitness and hope it works out, okay? Okay, so when we talk about vision and mission, and there's one slide that I have hidden, but I want to talk about why it matters. There's a company that used to have, and I say used to because their vision was lacking. It said diversity, so this is a company whose vision statement said diversity means varying differences. It's a waypoint for value that must be continually developed and embraced in the way we do business. The problem with a vision statement like that is, can anyone guess what company that is? I mean, if you just listen to that, you'd have no clue who that is. It's actually Blockbuster Video. Does anyone have a Blockbuster card still? Anyone pick one up from there? Right. They ran the company into the ground. They were the leading, home entertainment rental business. They ran the company into the ground, and it was because they lacked a vision that was actually consistent with the role that they played in society. I don't have no clue what diversity being incorporated. This is before DEI ever existed. Okay, but this was their corporate value, their corporate ethos, and incorporating diversity into the way they do business. When your values are not aligned with what roles and relationships you play, you set yourself up to become the Blockbuster of the next generation. A different example is a company whose vision is to provide the best and most useful information to everyone. That's Google. Obviously, their vision is aligned to the role that they play as an information provider. So there's in the corporate sector, we see that there is a linkage between the two. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have you start working on your vision statement and your mission statement. And that chart up there, it's a little hard to see, I apologize. But understand the difference between vision and mission. The vision statement that you have is really a future, where you want to be, 5 years from now, 3 to 5 years, way out there. Where do you want to be? What do you see yourself being? Whether it's in your professional life, whether it's in your family life, whether it's in your personal role, maybe it's in your walk with Christ. It's something that's out there. It's a vision of the future. The mission, however, is something that really resonates with our purpose and what we're going to be doing, what's actionable on a daily basis. What are we doing today to become better in our walk with Christ? What am I doing today to become whatever it is that I've identified as my long-term vision? So the vision is the far off into the future stuff. The mission is the stuff we're going to be working on in the next year to help accomplish the things that lead us towards that vision. Does that make sense? Understanding the difference between the two? Okay. If it doesn't, just add. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I can explain it again. Okay, I was a slide ahead because I've got it on 2 versions. So, okay, we'll keep going. All right, so again, the vision statement is, are you moving in the right direction in your life? And here's an example of a personal vision statement. Again, these are not meant to be very long. If they're too long, you're not going to remember them. It's to be a servant leader who inspires innovation. Okay, just something like that. That's someone's value. They value, that's actually my statement a little bit. I tweaked that one for the slides. But mine is to be a servant leader that helps other people grow. Okay? So it's a vision of where I want to be. And another example would be to build healthier, equitable communities where quality care is accessible. That's a UAB medical school example. Okay? But these are visionary statements. If you garner anything from this slide, if you read to be a servant leader who inspires innovation, that's really hard to actually be actionable. Right? It's so far out there. It's so broad. And this is where we're going to take the personal vision and we're going to draw it into mission statements later and then bring it into goals so it becomes actually actionable. So for Tammy and Curtis, this would be a vision statement of maybe where's your ministry want? Where do you want your ministry to be in 5 years? Is it global? Is it multimedia? Whatever it is, whatever that way far out vision is an example to draw it a little closer to home. Okay? All right, so now what I want you to do is think about your values, think about the roles that you're in, and then record your answers in that future vision. On that same sheet, there's two sections. It says, in my personal life, I want to be, and in my career personal life, I want to be. These are not your vision statements. This is just an intermediate step for you to kind of craft. Where do you want to be if you were to look 3 to 5 years into the future in your personal life? Where do you want to be? And write a note. I want to be, whatever. I want to be the mayor of Southside because the pay is great and they get free biscuits at the breakfast, right? Whatever it is. In my professional life, I want to be, and whatever it is. So go ahead and take a moment to write those down. These are personal. These are not things that you're going to share with others. Again, it's to help you define where do you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years. A big reason why we do this too is if we don't set in our mind a vision of where we want to be, then you don't know when you got there, and you don't know where you're going, honestly. I remember in 1995, I think it was, my boss had asked me, where do you see yourself in the Air Force, when you get ready to retire? And I said, I see myself as a colonel. That was my vision. Now, granted, I was 24 years away from that, but again, it was that vision of where did I want to be, so that it would drive me to accomplishing those goals that I wanted to have. Okay, so your vision, so you've written down where you want to be in terms of your vision, and hopefully both personally and professionally. We're going to talk about vision or mission statements, but your homework is on that page tonight where there's that block that says My Vision Statement. You're going to take some time to write your vision statement. I'm not going to have you do it here because it takes a while. And do it in pencil. I can tell you that right now. One thing that we do with the UAB students is we tell them to say it in 6. In other words, 6 words or less. Because if it starts getting too long, you're not going to remember it, and it's just going to get too convoluted and complicated. So try to write your vision statement to be within 6 words if possible. There's a really famous leadership expert. Her name's Frances Hesselbein. She's actually the founder of the Girl Scouts. And she said that a vision statement or a mission statement for a company should be able to fit on a T-shirt. If it's bigger than that, you're not going to remember it, and your employees aren't going to remember it. A muumuu is not a T-shirt, just saying. So make sure it's concise, and again, 6 words or less. So work on that as homework. Mark that on your sheet in that personal vision statement. For my vision statement, go ahead and put an HW or whatever it is to remind you to work on that tonight. Because again, it's critical that you take this home and you actually do this. Okay, so that's the vision statement. Again, the vision statement are guideposts for your decisions. It is not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing this and people would be focused and accomplish their goals in life. Most people don't take time to do this homework or to even sit down and think through this stuff. Okay, a mission statement is what gives you the actionable steps to actually accomplish your vision. So when you think about your mission statement, we're taking, for example, to be a servant leader who inspires others or who inspires innovation. And the mission statement would be empower my team by fostering creativity and providing tools for growth. Okay, so now it's more actionable. Now with a mission statement like that, if I have to empower my team daily and foster creativity and provide tools for growth, now I've got 3 areas. I've got empowering my team, fostering creativity, and providing tools for growth. I've got 3 areas that link to that mission statement that are things that I should actually be working on now. Am I going to work on them all at once? No, because I'll bury myself in goals and objectives and I'll get nothing done. And we're going to teach you how to manage so that you're not just doing so many goals and objectives that you're not actually doing anything of value. So we're going to have now, at least though with this mission, we've got 3 areas that we can be focusing on as I move forward in the next month, in the next 6 months, in the next year. What am I going to do to foster creativity in my team? What am I going to do in the next year to provide tools for growth for my team? Maybe it's I'm going to set up a seminar in 6 months on the 5 levels of leadership, or I'm going to take them to an escape room to see if they can get out of there without killing each other. Whatever it is, but now it's becoming more tangible when I put it into a mission statement. The other example is to show the world the love of Christ in everything I do, and the mission statement would be to continue to study and grow in my relationship with Christ every day. It becomes actionable now. Okay, I want to show the world the love of Christ. That's great, but how am I going to do it? If I leave it at that, I'm just sort of going to be all over the place. I'm not going to be focused. I'm certainly not going to be linked to my values or the roles that are important to me. I'm just going to kind of be responding. I'm going to be like Ted Wachowski in the Pentagon. I'm going to be responding to stray voltage. But if I craft a mission statement that says to study and grow in my relationship with Christ, well, now it's tangible. Now, in the next 3 months, I want to complete 4 studies by Paul Chappelle or whatever the guy. I never say his last name right. I don't know. Maybe he's French or something. I don't know, or Italian. Or maybe I want to, go on a mission trip. Right? I was sitting last night at Civil Air Patrol, and this young lady, she's 16. She was sharing with me her 2nd mission trip to India that she's been to, and just sharing the love of Christ with people over in India, and how, as a 16-year-old, she appreciates what she has in America more than most Americans do, because she's seen what the rest of the world does not have, and how gracious they are and kind they are and welcoming. The pastor saw that in the Philippines, the hospitality that exists overseas, but but not in the States. And so, again, she's got a vision of wanting to show the love of Christ, and in her mission statement was to take the gospel to other places in the world. So again, this is how we make it livable. Okay, so homework part number 2. You're going to write that vision statement, and then you're going to write a mission statement. Now, you may have a mission statement for your professional life, and you may have a mission statement for your personal life, and that's okay, because they are going to possibly be very different in terms of the outputs. And oh, by the way, for those of you that were paying attention, I said do this with your spouse, you're going to have a vision and a mission statement for your marriage as well. Okay? And that's something you should be doing every year. I forgot who, there's a marriage ministry that has a book that you can buy that kind of walks you through this as well. But again, if you don't need to buy the book, you can just do this. Every year you sit down in your marriage and say, all right, has our vision statement changed? If it hasn't, which hopefully it hasn't, what's our mission statement going to be for the next year? Okay? All right, it's making sense, because I have zero feedback from y'all. You're all just thinking really, really hard, and that's okay. I'm just making sure you're tracking with me. Okay. Thank you, Dustin. I appreciate that. And there's 2 boxes for you in the office, by the way, of VBS stuff. Yep. All right, so now we've talked about mission and vision, or vision and mission. What we want to do now is talk about actually some goal setting. Let's put pen to paper and make this actionable. Let's actually do something that matters. Goals give us direction and clarity. They help us stay focused. They help us not become Ted Wachowski running around chasing stray voltage. And they help us actually accomplish the things in life that matter, both personally and professionally. So this is why we do goals. There is a structure to doing this. There's 3 types of goals depending on the time horizon. We've got long-term, and we'll talk about those in more detail, mid-term and short-term. Okay, and we'll talk about how long those apply for. Typically, long-term is about a year-ish. How many of you predicted COVID and that telework would be a thing? Yeah, no, you can't. All right, I thought you were going to raise your hand. Like, okay, what stock should I buy next week, right? So you can't predict that stuff. You can't predict how the world's going to change. So really, when we start writing our goals, about a year out is about as far as you can predict. Who would have predicted what's going on in the Middle East again, right? Okay, so let's look at these independently. So long-term goals, and that is really tiny, I apologize. But long-term goals, like I said, we say 1 to 3, but I really wouldn't write them for more than a year, because like I said, come October of every calendar year, you should be going back through this exercise and looking at the next year. And they really are a roadmap to guide us of significant milestones or personal achievements that we want to accomplish in the course of the next 12 to 18 months, really. Midterm goals bridge the gap. There's things that are typically about 6 months to a year. So maybe from now until December, here's something I want to accomplish. Okay? It helps to become more actionable. You could have a long-term goal to get something done in a year, and then I'm going to set a midterm goal to actually make progress towards it as I move through the year. And then short-term goals are those things that we're going to be working on within a day or a week or a month or so. Okay? Daily tasks, things to help us get things actually done. Now, this may seem a little bit overwhelming. I will tell you that it is not once you get into the process, and I'm going to explain to you how we keep it under control too. So they're not just living by checklist. When we write goals, there's a technique called SMART. I don't know if some of you have heard this or not, but goals should be SMART, standing for specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-bound. And what that means is the goal should have a specific outcome. It should be measurable, so we can actually determine if we did it or not. It needs to be actionable, can I actually do something with it. It needs to be relevant to the job I'm in or the goal that I'm trying to accomplish. And then also it needs to be bound by time. If I don't put a time goal to it, then I'll never get it done. So here's an example at the bottom. I want to get in shape and go to the gym. Okay, that's a goal, but I can't, it's not terribly specific. It's okay, but it's not measurable because again, what shape do I want to get in? And how often is more? It's really not actionable because I'm not saying how frequently I should be doing it. It's relevant, but it's also not time-bound. It doesn't give me a time in which I want to accomplish it. So a better example would be, I'll go to the local gym 45 minutes every Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning to perform weight training, aiming to lose 10 pounds by October 31st. Okay, so now I've taken this goal. It's a personal desire. I want to get in shape, and I'm going to be specific about it. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 45 minutes, go to the gym. Okay, now I've actually put something to paper that's actually actionable, and I can do something with it. Okay, so let's give you a couple examples of how this will look, because this is really where your homework is going to be. And this is not going to be just a 1-hour homework session. I'm sorry to tell you that. Some of you are like, forget it, they're going to leave the paper behind. But in all honesty, this is going to take several sessions. Okay? But once you've done it the first time, next year it becomes much easier because you're just kind of tweaking a little bit around the edges. All right, so long-term goal, become a recognized community anchor of faith and action by dedicating 150 hours to local volunteer leadership, mentoring 3 younger individuals in faith, maintaining a daily habit of Christ-centered reflection. That's what I want to do in the next year. Okay? Like I said, this takes time. You don't just write that in 30 seconds and go, yeah, cool, I pulled that off. No, you'll probably pull a hamstring. So take your time. It's going to take a while to tweak these. Okay, so again, we're in this long-term goal. It's specific. It's measurable, 150 hours annually. It's relevant because it relates to a personal value of my walk with Christ. It's actionable. I've got specific details in there. It's also time-bound. I want to have it done within, a year. So the long-term goal in the next 12 months is I want to do those things: 150 hours, mentor 3 young individuals in faith, and maintain a daily habit of Christ-centered reflection. If I leave it at just that, that's like the New Year's resolution, like on steroids. Okay, but if I leave it just at that, I never get past that, to be honest with you. It's too broad, it's too difficult. So now I have to say, all right, how do I divide that into manageable chunks? Like maybe the first 6 months of the year, I'm going to establish a rhythm of local service by doing 40 hours in the first 6 months of hands-on volunteer work at a local homeless shelter or food bank over the next 6 months. So I want to do 40 hours over the next 6 months, maybe, to get started. That's something I want to do in the next 1 to 6 months. And then the short-term goal is I need to actually find the shelters, do the orientation, choose a location, and schedule my first shifts by the end of the month. So I've taken this big, broad concept of working 150 hours, and now I can actually go put something on my phone, on my calendar, on my day planner, on my marker board, or whatever you use, your Palm Pilot, if you still have it. And you can go ahead. Some of you don't know what that is. Just Google it. You'll find out. But now you've got a way to actually put it actionable. Okay. If you are married, for the love of all that is holy, please just put it on a family calendar and share it with each other so that each of you know what you're doing. Okay? It's very important. My wife and I do not use the phone as the calendar. I don't use electronic phone record keeping stuff. I still use a hard copy calendar, and so does she. You say, well, that's old school. I say, yeah, and so are the Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay? It lasts. If it's written on paper, you can find it again. I guarantee you I can't find what's on my BlackBerry. I can't find what's on my Palm Pilot. I can't find what's on my old iPad that they sunsetted because the iOS went away. Stick to the old school stuff. It actually does work. And if your spouse is traveling, I need to see the calendar. You can actually take a picture and just send her the picture. So it works. So please, put these things on a family calendar. It's important. Midterm goal number 2. I didn't know this was going to be marriage counseling, but okay. Midterm goal number 2, months 7 through 12. Cultivate a daily spirit of patience and kindness. 15 minutes of scripture reading each morning, executing at least one act of kindness. In the Orthodox temple, that would be called mitzvot, doing a blessing, a random act of kindness, which the Orthodox Jews, according to the law, are supposed to do so many per day. One could question whether or not you're doing it with the right heart or not, because then it just becomes routine. But in this case, this person's goal is, hey, I want to do at least one act of kindness. It could just be something like smiling at the person at the cash register, actually getting off your cell phone when you're paying for your groceries and saying hello, right? And doing that for the next 12 months. And so the short-term goal is I want to download a 90-day New Testament plan, set a phone alarm for 6:30 in the morning, probably put in there and follow it or wake up, and successfully complete the first 30 days of consecutive morning readings. So I'm taking what I want to do over the course of the year, and now I'm breaking it into things that I'm going to do by month, and then I can put it onto a daily plan. Are you tracking? Yes or no? Are we good? Okay, makes sense. Okay, so you understand this is not something that you can pull off in just 5 minutes. It does take some time because you're going to do these goals for your personal life. You're going to do this goal, this long-term goal for your professional life, and you're going to do this long-term goal for your married life. So it takes a while to work through these. I would recommend you do your personal and professional first. It'll knock off the rust. It'll help you get through the process of how to do this, and then sit down with your spouse so you're not doing sausage making and trying to figure out the process together. It'll be less contentious. It'll be a lot easier if the two of you have a little bit of practice under your belt before you start writing these out for your marriage. And you want to make sure, this is that 7-7-7 thing, make it like one of those long weekends, that it's just the two of you. Work on your marriage goals over a weekend alone. It's not the time to do it in the middle of Jack's, sorry, Miss Hazel, but you can't do it in the middle of Jack's when it's noisy. You can't do it when the kids are jumping on your head. You need time to actually sit and do these things. Okay, here's another example. So we did one in the role of follower of Christ, all right? So let's go all the way back to the beginning of tonight. My value statement, right? A Christ follower is one of my values. Faith, living a life of faith is a value. The role is being a mentor, teacher, Christ follower, okay? That's one of the roles that I identified. My vision statement would have been making a difference in the lives of others through my walk with Christ. And now what I want to do is I set those goals out before. One of my other values is being physically fit. So how do I do that? Well, long-term goal. This one's fictional because I am never running that far in my life. Yeah. So successfully train and finish a full marathon 15 months from now to reach peak cardiovascular fitness and have no knees left. Okay. So 12 months out, that's my goal. 15 months from now, I want to be able to run a marathon. But if I just leave it at that, I'm never going to get there. The moment the Big Mac starts calling, or as Joseph would say, the McChibbin sandwich for $2 for $1 or whatever it is, it's going to ruin your diet and your running plan. So now let's break that down. For months 1 through 6, let me do a midterm goal and build a running base so that I can do a 10K at the end of 6 months without walking. And the short-term goal is let me walk, run for 30 minutes, 4 days a week for the next 30 days. Or maybe it's just go find a training plan, whatever it is, whatever works for you. These are just examples. Then months 7 through 12, follow a structured half-training marathon and complete a half marathon by the end of month 12. So now I've got 3 months left to finish training for this 26.2. Okay, and so my short-term goal is going to be research and register for that half marathon event. So I'm taking the things that matter. So this is what happens. This is the antithesis of what happens when someone goes to, that's a fancy word for saying, this is the opposite of what happens when someone says, I'm going to get in shape, and they just join Planet Fitness. Okay, because they haven't done this. They haven't said, I'm going to go get a trainer, or I'm going to get a fitness plan, or I'm going to start dieting, or I'm not going to eat McChicken, or whatever it is. And that's why the plan falls apart, why the New Year's resolution falls apart, because they haven't gone any further than this. Okay, so what I want you to do, again, this is for homework, so I'm going to turn it back over to the pastor because it's going to be time for prayer. In your handout, on the front page of your handout, it's the Personal SMART Goal Planner. And you're going to use that SMART Goal Planner as homework to write out your long-term goals. Remember, 1+ year, about a year to a year and a half at the most, and no more than 4. And I have found this in personal experience. So like Franklin Covey, the guy that wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I prefer the Dilbert version, which is the 7 Habits of Highly Defective People, which is a lot more funny, or a lot more humorous rather. But when he wrote that in his book, he has you do like every value or every role. You've done it before? Yeah, you're still recovering, I can tell. So, I mean, you go through like goals and objectives for every role that you play, and it just becomes overwhelming. So just do up to 4, because if you look at that example, I got to go back a slide. If you look at that example, one long-term goal is going to have at least a couple midterm goals and at least 2 to 4 maybe short-term goals. So if I'm like have 7 or 8 roles in my life, there's no way I can manage, 18 short-term goals. It's just going to become overwhelming and you're just going to give up. Okay? So stop at 4. And again, this is why we do this every year, because this year maybe I focus on the running and the fitness side of life. Maybe next year it's just maintenance. I don't need to be as aggressive and go into a marathon. And maybe I pick up a different role or a different value next year that I want to hone. Maybe it's, something else. Maybe I want to become a pilot. I don't know, whatever it is. So that's why we stick to just 4. And it can be personal or professional. You pick the balance. It's entirely up to you. Again, there's no wrong way to do this other than to just not do it. And then you're going to write midterm goals. So the way it works is if you look at the bottom of that page, it says goal number, and there's a little dash. So what you would write is, you would write what goal number that midterm goal applies for. So if goal number 1 had required 2 midterm goals, then I'm going to fill in 2 midterm goals. I'm going to put goal number 1 and then write it out, and then goal number 1 again. So now I know which midterm goals link to that. And I'll go through that to the second page and finish the midterm goals. And then I want to do the short-term goals, and those are up to 3 months. And again, you'll pick how many you want to do to actually make it actionable to accomplish those goals. Now, here's the key. If you go through all of this homework, which will be cool if you do, and you can tell me you did, and I'll give you a high five. Maybe we should incentivize them with snacks or something, I don't know. But if you go through all these things, and then you stop here, then you've done a whole lot of intellectual work, and you're not going to get any further than this sheet of paper, to be honest with you. The next step is to take it and put it into whatever system you're going to use to track your progress. Whether it's that hard copy calendar, whether it's the marker board on the refrigerator, whatever it is, you've got to take it from here and then actually make it actionable. The pastor, you don't have yours with you tonight, not mine's on my desk at home, but he carries a time management system from Franklin Covey. I've been carrying one since 1993, and I haven't stopped using it because I can keep everything organized that way. You do you, boo. Whatever works for you is fine, but the key is you've got to actually do it. You've got to put it down. And set yourself a reminder, again, maybe in mid-October or 1 November, to review this and do it all over again. And maybe you don't want to kill yourself and do it all at once. Maybe you do personal in October, you do professional in November, and you do marriage, family, spouse, relationship ones in December. All right? Questions before I get out of your way? No? Okay. All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Now we're about to pray, have our prayer time. This is important to me, church, and I know that we're all different levels. We're different places in our life. 3 to 5 year plans, maybe to be running the streets of gold with Miss Hazel. We talk about that all the time. If she makes it before me, or if I go before her, she's singing my favorite hymn, which is "There's Coming a Day." So we already got our funerals planned together there, a little bit of it anyway. But it's important to me because what he's talking about, I'm studying every day. Like every day, how can I be more systematic in the Word of God? Every day, how can I be more systematic in prayer? Every day, how can I grow not only spiritually, but intellectually, emotionally, physically? How can I be in better shape? I mean, I'm looking at this thing, and I know Miss Jenny yesterday texted me, "You're just a young whippersnapper," and I said, "No, I'm not." And she can't hear me, but I said, "No, I'm not." I said, "I'm a middle-aged whippersnapper." So, but she texted me. She said, "You're just little. You're just young," and she's my church mama, so she can do that, right? But I want to grow, and I'm looking at this thing at 46. 47's approaching real fast, and 50 is right there. Not the police, but like 50 is right there. So what I want to do with my life? I see people hang it up in their 40s. I see them hang it up in their 50s. I see them hang up life in their 60s and 70s. And then I see some still in their 80s. And we used to do dueling lawnmowers out here in the yard, me and Tom. We used to race the lawnmowers. But don't give up on life. Continue to grow. Continue to learn. Don't give up on the Bible. I mean, all of this is relevant to this. What's your personal goal for reading through the Word of God this year? Because what gets scheduled gets done. What you think, well, I need to do it. And you get up, and what happens? You get up, and you got to make breakfast for the kids, or you got to get them out of the door, or something takes, the phone rings, and then you don't have your Bible time. And then your day has started, and you're middle of the day, and you're like, I'm going to get back to my Bible time. I'm going to get back to my Bible time. And if you're like me, you get to the end of the day, and I open up a book. Now, my wife and daughters can read in the evening. I can't. I open up a book. My wife asked me last night, I was reading on spiritual burnout. There's a little book that she had. She said, you've read that before, right? I said, no, I know, but I want to read it again. It's fascinating to me. Burnout is fascinating to me because there's a reason people burn out. And so I'm reading it, and my wife's like, you read that before? And it wasn't 30 seconds later after I answered her, I'm already falling asleep. I'm burnt out on the day. I got the book out this morning. I have to read in the mornings. It has to be in the morning. So my time schedule right now, 4:45 a.m., I'm up. And I say no to snooze. No to snooze. I'm up. Why? Right now it's so hot outside. If I want to do that 26.2 mile run by the fall or that 13.1 mile run, even in the summer, I got to run now because I don't know if y'all know, but it's hot by the time the sun comes up right now. So there's things that have to get scheduled. So all of this is relevant. All of it's important. And this is why we discuss this. Some of you in here need to be leaders, future leaders in this church. And you got to get your life together one day at a time and then pursue Christ. The amazing thing about the Christian life, and I know we're right at time. We're going to take prayer requests and we're going to pray. The amazing thing about the Christian life is you can be as mature as you want to be in the Christian life. It does not take years to mature in the Christian life. It takes the pursuit of Christ. In 6 months, where do you want to be as a Christian? In a year, where do you want to be as a Christian? Deeper in the things of God. Schedule it and do it and watch it happen. And I believe God will bless. Make some goals. I'm excited about this. I'm going to do my homework. The implementing it part is the hard part. But he talked about the Franklin Planner. He taught me how to do the Franklin Planner it's 2 years now. A year and a half I've been in the Franklin Planner. And I sat in my office today and I pulled out of the planner, I took out May and I took out April. And I put in July and August so that I can plan those months out. And I looked 90 days ahead because somebody challenged me to look 90 days ahead to get a list out to people so that when I make changes, they know those changes are coming. And that's an issue I have as a leader. I want you to be on board. I want everybody to be on board. And I want God to bless. And amen. Clear? Well, let's take some prayer requests tonight. We're going to spend some time in prayer.